Kaylee from K-Books, and this is my wrap-up post for June 2014. So I read quite a few books last month, so I'm just going to go through them and tell you what I thought. The first book I read was an audiobook, and this was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. And this one didn't get a rating because I actually ended up DNFing it. I did not finish. I really wanted to like this book. It sounded amazing. It was a YA dystopia, and I adore YA dystopia books. I think they're incredible. But this one just lacked for me. I couldn't really get into it. It was long-winded. I was just bored through the first few hours. I listened to the first few hours of the book, but I was just bored. I wasn't invested in the story. I didn't care about the characters, and I sort of got the impression that I didn't really know who the characters were as people. So yeah, I DNF'd it. I really didn't like it. And the next book I read was The Summer I Became a Nerd by Lee Ray Miller. This is a young adult contemporary romance book, and I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved this book. It's cute, it's funny, it's the perfect summer read, so if you're looking for a book to be like on holiday with on the beach or something, this is definitely the one. It was just so funny, and I loved all of the nerd references, the references to Doctor Who and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. I just loved every second of that book, and I will definitely be picking up Lee's other books when they come out. The next book I read was The Killables by Gemma Malley. This is a young adult dystopia book, and I gave it 3 stars. I liked the story. It was a really original story, and I really liked the characters, but at some points I felt like the story was predictable. I didn't really like the main guy in it. I thought he moaned more than the girl, and that never happens, and I didn't really like him all that much, and it was his brother, the smaller character, that I think we were supposed to hate. I actually liked him more. So yeah, it was okay. I will probably pick up the others in the series so I can see how it pans out and what happens. I'll definitely pick Gemma Malley's other series up that I actually have to read. But yeah, it was just okay for me. It was a good book, and I would say that fans of dystopia would probably love this book, but I've read better. The next one I read was The One by Kiera Cass. This is the 3rd book in the Selection series, and this is a young adult dystopia. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Look how pretty the cover is. It's so pretty. I just loved it. It was phenomenal. It was so unbelievably good. It was the perfect ending you could have possibly asked for this series. Excuse me. It was just amazing. I loved it. It was the ending I wanted, and yeah, I'm just really sad that this series is over now. The next book I read was a reread, and I reread White Hot Kiss by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 1st book in the Dark Elements series. This is her series about gargoyles, and I gave it 5 stars last time I read it, so it's naturally 5 stars again this time. I just love this book. I absolutely adore this series. It's incredible. I love Roth. I love Zane, the other guy. I love Layla. I love everything about it. I could not say one bad thing about this book. It is just so phenomenal, as are all of Jen's books. So the reason I reread that is because I got an arc of book 2. So the next book I read was Stone Cold Touch by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is the 2nd book in the Dark Elements series. I gave it 5 stars. I loved this book. It's a little bit more slow than the first one, so it is slower paced than the first one, but I loved it. I definitely fell in love with Zane more, and I'm sorry, Team Rothers, but I switched teams in this book, absolutely. It was just incredible. I loved every moment of it, and I'm dying to get my hands on the third one, as the third one is the final book. It's a trilogy, and I just cannot wait to see how it ends. This is the one series where I genuinely love both guys. In love triangles and series, I'm never like that. And it is the only series where I genuinely can't predict who Layla will choose and end up with. So I can't wait for the third book, but with me having read an arc, I have to wait even longer for it. But this was phenomenal. It was a 5-star read for me. The next one was an audiobook, and it was Rule by Jay Crownover. This is the first book in her Marked Men series, and I gave it 5 stars. It was really good. The audio edition was fantastic. It was genuinely phenomenal. I absolutely adored it. It was so good. The narrators did a fantastic job, and it's a new adult contemporary romance. It was fab. I loved it, and I'm currently listening to Jet, which is the second one. I have all 4 on audio waiting, so I'm about halfway through the second one. The next one was an ebook, and this was another arc that I got, and it was Rain by Amanda Sun. This is the second book in the Paper Gods series, and I gave this 5 stars. I loved it. I love this series. I think it's so original and unique, and it's so different from any other young adult books out there because it's a YA paranormal romance. And it's just fantastic. I absolutely loved it. It was fab. Follow on from Ink. It did a great job, and it's not only unique, but it's set in a non-typical place. Like a lot of young adult books at the moment, they're always set in somewhere like the USA or the UK, and this was set in Japan, so I love how different that is culturally. So yeah, I gave that one 5 stars. The next one is by far the one I was the most excited about. If you follow me on Twitter, you will know what this is. And it is The Return by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the Titan series, which is the spin-off from the Covenant series, my favourite series in the whole world. And it's coming out in February next year. It's a YA paranormal mythology book, and it follows Seth. Now, it's no secret to anybody who follows me that when I read the Covenant series, I hated Seth. I hated him. Like, I wanted him to die. I really did. But I did always believe that he would redeem himself in Sentinel, which he did. And I liked him. I'd warmed a little bit to him at the end of Sentinel. I, under no circumstances, loved him. I have fallen in love with Seth. The impossible has happened, and I adore him. This book is fantastic. It's new adult, not young adult. But it is so good. I loved it. Loved every moment of it. I don't want to say too much because pretty much everything I could possibly say about this book will be a spoiler. But Seth's fantastic. Josie is so amazing. I love her. She's one of my favourite protagonists now. She's just fantastic. The Return was possibly the best book I have read this year so far. It is phenomenal. So yeah, that was a 5-star read for me. The next one is another arc, and it is Solitaire by Alice Oseman. This is a standalone, and it is a young adult contemporary romance. It is a UK book, but it is getting published in the US in March next year. The UK edition is out end of July, so end of this month. It's fantastic. It's one of the best contemporary books I have possibly ever read. It is phenomenal. It is so good. It says on the front, this is not a love story, and typically it's not. There is little hints of a romance going on there. There's little hints of it. But it's just fantastic because it's more about how the character gets through what she does, how she grows. It's so good. It is one of my favourite books of the year. I loved every moment of it, and I couldn't stop talking about it when I first finished. I couldn't stop talking about it on Twitter. I just could not shut up about it because it's just phenomenal. It's one of those books that you read and it really sticks with you. So weeks after you finished it, you are still talking about it. So this is a definite must read. So yeah, I gave that one 5 stars. The next one I read is Stolen by Lucy Christopher. This is a standalone book. I've heard amazing things about it. I didn't really like this book. I gave it 2 stars. It's a young adult and it's a thriller type, which already thrillers aren't my favourite genre. I've only read one that I've actually liked. But this did sound really good. Yeah, I didn't connect with it. I just found that the main guy was a psychopath. It seemed to me that it was full of mental illness, but it sort of glorified crime a little bit. Because everyone else seemed to be completely in love with this guy, but I was more, well, he just kidnapped somebody. That's not a good thing. I think it's full of mental disorder, as in I thought that the guy had St. Clarenbolt's disorder, if you know what that is. And it's definitely a case of Stockholm Syndrome here. People say it's love, but it's not. It's Stockholm Syndrome. That's what it is. So yeah, I did not like this book. I will not be picking up anything else by Lucy Christopher. I wasn't a fan of this book at all. The last book I read was an ebook, and it is The New World by Patrick Ness. And I give this one 3 stars. It was really good. It's the prequel to his Chaos Walking series, and yeah, I really liked it. It did its job. It introduced you to the series. It got me excited to read what happened next in The Knife of Never Letting Go. So I am really looking forward to finishing that series, and The New World did a really good job of introducing it for us. So that's all I read this month. I'm going to go through my top 3 books. So my number 3 is The One by Kiera Cass. It was just amazing. It was a phenomenal end to the series. I loved it. Number 2 is Solitaire by Alice Oseman. It was moving, it was beautiful, it was just utterly fantastic. One of the best YA contemps I've read. It's gritty, it's raw, it's real, it's funny, it's true, it's fantastic. I loved it. And number 1, you have probably guessed, is The Return by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I would have had Stone Cold Touch in here, but I decided that because I'd read 2 JLA books in the same month, I was actually just going to choose one for the top 3, and The Return had to win because it was utterly phenomenal. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next, and I just can't wait until it's published in February so everyone else can read it and I have someone to talk to about it. So that's it for this month, and I will be back at the end of July with my wrap up for then. So thanks for watching. Bye!